The first lie wasn't the worst. It was the silence after. I still remember the exact moment. Tuesday, 6:47 p.m. I was in the garage, realigning the pegboard above my workbench. The kind of quiet, satisfying work you do when life feels stable. My wife, Elise, was upstairs, finishing up emails for her marketing firm's quarterly wrap-up. Then my phone buzzed, a single image, sent anonymously. Elise, at a rooftop bar in Chicago, laughing. The kind of laugh you share with coworkers. The kind of laugh that bends your posture and exposes your throat. Vulnerable. Private. Across from her sat Mason, our daughter's third-grade soccer coach, mid-30s, brushed hair. No ring, his hand was on hers across the table. The timestamp 5:14 p.m., the same time she had texted me. Client call. Don't wait on dinner. I didn't confront her. I didn't even save the image. Instead, I walked inside, kissed her cheek, and asked if she wanted green tea. She smiled, said sure. That smile, it didn't even twitch. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I returned to the garage. The overhead bulb buzzed once before settling. I opened the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet, the one she never bothered with. The metal screeched, then revealed it, a black envelope. The label read, "In case of Elise." I slid it open. Inside was a flash drive, a printed list of passwords, and a single sticky note with 6 words, written in my handwriting: prepare, don't react, control the exit. Most people think betrayal is loud. Mine came with itemized receipts. The next morning, Elise left early. Said she had a strategy session with her team at a co-working loft near Lakeside. She kissed me twice, once near the ear, once on the neck. After she backed out of the driveway, I waited 15 minutes. Then I opened the flash drive. It contained folders by category: financials, travel logs, communications, legal options. HID 1 updated regularly. Timestamped, most recent, 3 days ago. I'd started the archive a year prior. Not because I suspected infidelity, but because Elise had changed frequency. It was in the way she answered her phone before looking at it, the way she wore perfume to the grocery store. I had noticed, I had logged. The financial folder had the good stuff. Hidden transactions, Venmo payments to a Jules B., a name that didn't exist in our social sphere, but whose address linked back to an Airbnb just west of the city. I matched the dates to Elise's team off-site retreats. She'd booked the same unit 5 times, 2 nights each, Fridays to Sundays. I cross-referenced it with the calendar export from her synced Apple account. The event names were Creative Rebrand, Sync, Content Summit, Innovation Deep Dive. One event stood out. March 17th, Solo Reset, Therapist Weekend. I clicked the Airbnb confirmation for that weekend. 2 guests, King Suite. That was the first transaction I printed. Highlighted the cost, $482.16. Next, I opened our joint checking account. I moved $2,000 into a new business account I'd opened a month ago under my LLC, one she never knew. I incorporated, quietly, legally, solely. That was the first move. Small, clean, unnoticed, to test. Really, to see if she was watching the ledger. She wasn't. That night, we ate salmon and watched a documentary. She laughed, tucked her feet under my thigh, like nothing was rotting beneath us. I kissed her goodnight. Then I went back to the garage, and I began organizing the fall. The knock at the door came at 7:06 p.m. Elise was still plating the risotto, lemon, asparagus, and parmesan. She had gone all out, like she used to when we still tried. I answered the door. Mason stood there with a wine bottle in one hand, and his other hand casually tucked in his pocket. He smiled the way men do when they think they've won something. "Elise invited me," he said. "Said we could talk about fundraising for the team banquet." I nodded slowly, stepped aside. "Of course. Come in." Elise beamed when she saw him, like she hadn't just sent me a text hours ago that read, "Dinner tonight. Just us, reset." She kissed his cheek, poured the wine. Small talk, laughter, casual glances. I played host, offered seconds, complimented his insightful coaching style. Elise looked relieved. She thought I was either blind or forgiving. Mason excused himself around 9 o'clock, claiming an early training session. Elise walked him out. Their voices dropped at the door. I didn't strain to hear, but I caught one line. "He doesn't suspect anything." She came back inside, yawning, said she was glad things felt normal again. I smiled, kissed her forehead, and said, "Me too." The moment she went upstairs, I opened the cabinet behind the liquor shelf. Inside, I pulled out a small velvet box, not a ring, a recorder. The one I had slipped under the couch earlier that evening. Mason's voice, clear as crystal. "You think he's really that calm?" "Elise, Scott doesn't do confrontation. He just shuts down. It's fine. What if he finds out? He won't, and if he does, we're already too far gone." I uploaded the audio, dated it, filed it into the communications folder on the drive. That was Thursday. Friday, I scheduled a meeting with my estate attorney. I didn't tell Elise. Some battles aren't fought. They're written on paper, in ink. with deadlines and clauses. And hers had just been signed. The trick wasn't in hiding anything, it was in making sure she never thought to look. The estate attorney, Helen Marlowe, had sharp eyes and a sharper memory. We'd met twice before, once during a will update, once after Elise's fender bender when we had to adjust our liability coverage. Both times, Helen told me the same thing. Plan for the exit before you ever think you'll need one. That Friday morning, I slid the USB drive across her polished walnut desk. You need to see the last 2 folders, I said. She plugged it in, scanned the contents in silence. I didn't narrate. I let the proof speak. The audio recording from the dinner, the Airbnb confirmations, the messages from Mason that I'd quietly retrieved from Elise's cloud backup. Helen exhaled slowly through her nose, then clicked into the financial folder. You've already set up the LLC, she asked. Registered last April. I've moved about 12 grand so far. Quietly. Business development expenses. She nodded approvingly, then leaned back. Tell me what you want. Protection, I said. Asset division will get ugly. I want to be generous where I choose to be, not where I'm cornered, and the house already refinanced. In the LLC's name, she signed the paperwork in June. I told her it was for a better rate, through a commercial-friendly vehicle. Helen smiled. She bought that. She didn't even read the second page. It took 90 minutes to restructure the core of my estate plan. The Westbridge property was now an irrevocable trust, revocable only by me. Elise had no equity stake anymore. The business account, declared independent and protected under the Small Corporate Entity Act. The car, transferred, under depreciation. Everything we built together had been quietly moved just out of her reach. The final piece was subtle, a change of beneficiary on my life insurance. Elise had always assumed she'd be the recipient. Now that designation went to my sister's son, Oliver, a second-year mechanical engineering student who once helped me build a solar-powered bird feeder when he was 12. That night, Elise returned home late, said she got caught up in client review delays. She dropped her heels at the door, came into the kitchen barefoot. Rubbing her temples like guilt was a migraine and not a symptom. You already eat? She asked, peering into the fridge. I waited, I said. Her eyes softened a little, like she was surprised. I offered her a glass of wine. She accepted it too quickly. I poured it slowly. You seem tired. She nodded, sipped, leaned on the counter like she was posing for a sympathy card. It's just been a long week. I hate feeling like we're off. I gave her a look that held just enough warmth to keep her guessing. We'll find our rhythm again. She smiled at that, kissed me. It landed half an inch from my mouth. Upstairs, after she drifted off to sleep, I sat at my desk in the corner of the bedroom and opened the app linked to her car's GPS. She hadn't gone to the office, not even close. She'd parked in a residential cul-de-sac near Grafton Heights, a unit I recognized from the Zillow alerts she used to send me when we were thinking of upsizing. Mason lived there. I had already confirmed the lease details. Through a third-party public records site, I screen captured the data. Timestamps, coordinates, duration of stay. I didn't print them. Not yet, because Elise wasn't just cheating. She was auditioning for a life that didn't exist, one where Mason wasn't temporary, where her exit from our marriage could be clean and profitable. That's why she hadn't made any moves. She wanted me to react first, wanted me to explode, to cheat, to slip up so she could position herself as the victim. But I wasn't going to give her the story she wanted. The next morning, Elise was chipper. She made waffles, added blueberries, rare. She wore her softest smile and even kissed the back of my neck while I read the paper. I think we should do something next weekend, she said. Just us. Where? I asked. There's a lake house we used to talk about, still on Airbnb. I looked up. The same lake where we spent our 5th anniversary. She nodded, eyes big, hopeful. You already booked it? Not yet. I thought we'd pick the dates together. Smart, I said, avoiding assumptions. She laughed lightly, took another sip of coffee, and checked her phone, probably a message from Mason. While she tapped the screen, I checked the camera feed. The one I had installed in her car's dashboard. Under the guise of a recall appointment, she'd never questioned it. I had a live feed. Audio too. The device pinged to my phone every time she started the ignition. That afternoon, I reviewed the footage. Mason had met her again, this time at a park. They stayed in the car. For 43 minutes, their conversation wasn't affectionate. It was strategic. Elise talked about timing, about needing me to pull the plug first, about how divorces often favored the non-initiating party if they had a sympathetic narrative. That then Mason said it. If he files, you could claim financial stress, maybe get spousal support. I'd need receipts, she said. Proof that I've been trying to make it work. They planned it. She wasn't just cheating on me physically. She was setting the stage for litigation. At 4:53 p.m., I emailed Helen again. Subject, contingency phase. She replied within 2 minutes. Yes, let's activate it. The first thing Elise noticed was the mirror. It was an antique brass frame, Baroque pattern, slightly warped at the edges. Her grandmother's. Supposedly, she used to run her fingers along the rim every morning like it held some kind of magic. But when she went to grab her foundation that Thursday morning, it was gone. "Did you move my mirror?" she asked, peeking around the bedroom doorway. I looked up from my laptop. "Which one?" "The oval one. The brass one." It was right on my vanity. I gave a half shrug. "Haven't touched anything." She tilted her head, confused. "Well, it's not there. Maybe it fell. You know how that table tilts." She didn't respond, just turned back toward the room. I heard her rifling through drawers for the next 10 minutes. Muttering to herself, what she didn't know was that the mirror wasn't lost. It was in a padded box in the garage, labeled and sealed with the others. Jewelry, documents, carefully cataloged, photographed, and removed under the guise of a spring cleaning project I started 2 weeks prior. Nothing dramatic. No bare shelves. Just one missing item at a time, small enough to register as confusion. Not panic. By the time Elise realized her mirror was missing, 6 of her most valuable possessions had already been relocated to a storage unit under my name in a neighboring town. That was the beginning. That weekend, the second shift occurred. She came home Saturday afternoon with new throw pillows and scented candles. Her subtle signal that she was reclaiming the house, Nessun preparing for her side of whatever argument she assumed I was too timid to start. "I figured we could redo the guest room," she said as she set the pillows on the couch. "For who?" She blinked. "I mean, just in case someone visits. We haven't had visitors in 6 years." I said without looking up from the spreadsheet I was balancing. "Well, things change. Some things do," I said, and closed the laptop. She didn't push. That was her tell when Elise avoided direct confrontation. It meant she wasn't ready. She needed more prep, more leverage. Too bad I'd already cleared the board behind her back. That night, after she went to bed, early headache, Agani opened the second safe, the one in the garage beneath the tool rack, disguised as a defunct breaker box. Inside were 6 folders. Divorce proceedings, draft 80, divorce proceedings, draft, be aggressive, prenuptial review, notes Mason, profile travel log, cross-check, option, mutual asset forfeit. I pulled out draft a. It was simple, clean, and neutral. Custody of the house offered to her in exchange for no spousal support. A quiet exit, no reputation damage. I knew she wouldn't accept it, not at first, but that wasn't the point. The point was that I had already filed it digitally under a time delay submission. Helen had activated the release protocol via her office's scheduling system. Submission date, October 2nd, 8:30 a.m. sharp. Elise thought she was managing optics. I was managing clocks. At breakfast, the next morning, she was chipper again. Wore her blue wrap dress, kissed my cheek while I was mid-toast. "I booked the lake house," she said. "Oh yeah, thought we could use the time away. No phones, just us." "That's thoughtful," she smiled. "I really want to get back to us." "Me too," I said, and meant it. Just not in the way she assumed. What Elise didn't know was that I had already contacted the owner of the lake house, Mr. Ronson, a retired CPA with a penchant for collecting stories. I told him the truth in one email. My wife had booked the house under false pretenses. I asked him for a favor. He replied in under an hour. "Happens more than you'd think. Happy to cooperate." The booking was canceled. 2 days later, Elise got the email from the rental service. Her eyes narrowed. "Looks like the reservation fell through," she said, stirring her tea. "That's a shame. They said it was a conflict. System glitch. Or something. Maybe it's a sign." She didn't answer. Instead, that afternoon, she met Mason. I watched it from the dashcam. They argued. For the first time, he was getting nervous. She was pushing him harder now, talking about timing again. About the window closing. She used the phrase leverage, and he didn't like that word. He left without kissing her that night. She was quiet. She didn't touch her wine, didn't kiss me, but she hovered. That hover meant she was close to cracking, trying to read me. I gave her nothing. The next morning she asked, "Are you happy, Scott?" I looked up from the sink. "Why do you ask?" I feel like we've been off." "Off how?" She hesitated, "Like you're planning something." I smiled. "You're not wrong." And I walked out. That was Sunday. By Monday morning, the balance of our joint account dropped by 70%. Elise checked it while pretending to read emails in bed. I heard the inhale. The phone buzzed once, an alert. Then again, she called the bank. Her voice dipped into a brittle register I hadn't heard since her mother's funeral. She hung up. Walked into the kitchen slowly. "Did you move money?" I folded the paper, set it down. "Yes." "Why?" "Because it was mine." "It's our account." I nodded. It was. The silence stretched. "What is going on?" "Scott, I'm making room," I said, "for the next part." She didn't ask what that meant, because I think, deep down, she already knew. The mirror had been the first sign. The missing money was the second. But the final one would come in an envelope. Sealed, stamped, already en route. It arrived on a Wednesday mid-morning. Just after the recycling truck rumbled down our cul-de-sac and before Elise had finished her second coffee. She was in the kitchen, barefoot, scrolling through realtor listings. She didn't think I noticed. Looking for something with more light, she'd once said. I heard the mailbox click shut. 3 envelopes, 1 flyer. I left the flyer on the counter. Electricity bill in the drawer. And then, the one I'd been waiting for. The envelope was thick, no return address. Just her name, in clean serif print. Elise V. Haraway placed it gently on the kitchen island, beside her mug. She looked up, blinked. What's that? Mail, I said. Yours. She reached for it, absently. Didn't open it right away. She always waited, like important things could be diluted by timing. But timing, as it turns out, was everything. It took her 5 minutes. I watched her stir her coffee, reread an email, then finally, slowly, tear the seal. The first thing she pulled out was the cover letter. The second was the asset division worksheet. Then the formal divorce petition. She didn't gasp. Elise wasn't the gasping type, but she went still, like something had short-circuited behind her eyes. I sipped my coffee. Read the second page carefully. She did. Her hand trembled slightly when she saw the clause. All property listed under the Westbridge LLC shall remain under the petitioner's control. She looked up. You're filing for divorce. I am. Her mouth opened, closed. Because of Mason. No, I said, because of you. I thought we were working on things. We were. I just didn't say which direction I was working. In the silence was heavy. Dense. Then she tried the next move, the soft appeal. Scott, I don't understand. After everything, we've built a life. No, Elise, I built a life. You tested it. You rewrote it. I just finally stopped. Pretending it was mutual. I have the Airbnb records, the synced messages, the GPS logs. She paled. The recordings too, I added, not for court. Just for clarity. She sat down. Hard. I didn't gloat. I didn't pace. I let her exist in that moment. 1. Where she realized the chessboard was flipped and she didn't even know which side she was playing on. Then she tried defiance. That was predictable. You think you'll get everything? No, I said, I already have. She glanced toward the stairs. Her eyes darted like she was counting possessions, items she still assumed were hers. You'll notice, I continued, that the jewelry is gone. The title to the Lexus transferred the house under my business entity since May. I even gave you the documents to sign. You asked if you needed to read them. I said no. You agreed. That's unethical, she said weakly. No, it's legal. And more importantly, it's earned. I slid a second envelope across the table. Smaller, sealed. She stared at it. Is this an offer? Clean exit? No support? No public mess? You get a separate condo, I already secured, paid off, under your name. You'll be comfortable. Quiet. Her eyes narrowed. Why? Because you're not worth revenge. I said, just removal. She didn't open that envelope either. Not then. That night, she stayed in the guest room. I heard the drawer open. The mirror clinked, the one I'd returned that afternoon. Just so she'd know I could take it again. At 3:12 a.m., I saw her car's location update. She'd left the driveway, gone back to Mason. I didn't track her. I didn't care, because while she was trying to explain a future that was already closed, I was preparing for morning. Thursday, 8:30 a.m., I sat in Helen Marlowe's office. The final documents had been accepted. Any chance she contest it? She asked. I shook my head. She won't have the energy. Helen smiled. Then it's done. Not yet. I opened my briefcase, slid out a final folder, labeled simply, Ridgepoint Academy. Elise's niece, Charlotte, had been deferred from the academy twice. Bright girl, lived with her single mother in a duplex on the far edge of the county. Elise once called her socially awkward. I called her capable. Inside the folder was a paid tuition statement, a housing deposit, and a scholarship letter written under the Harrow Foundation, a grant I created last month using excess funds Elise never knew existed. That's generous, Helen said. It's fair, I replied. Not all Harrows disappoint. I signed the final line, dated it, slid the pen across the table. Then I stood. Outside, the weather had shifted, windier, sharper. I zipped my jacket, turned my collar up, and stepped into the breeze. No rage. Regret. Just a man walking forward. Behind me, the house was still, cold coffee in the mug, a closed envelope on the table. Elise might still be staring at it, or maybe not. Either way, her part of the story was finished. Mine was just beginning. Mason learned about the condo 3 days later. He didn't hear it from Elise. He heard it from the leasing office. They called him to confirm a co-resident's signature. Elise had listed him as emergency contact and assumed that was a formality. But the office didn't see it that way. When he called her, his tone wasn't angry. It was confused. Flat. You put my name on a lease. Elise tried to brush it off. It's not a big deal. They just needed someone local. You know? In case what? She paused. In case things move faster than planned. Silence. Then Mason asked what had been circling his mind since the envelope arrived. Did he throw you out? No, she said quickly. I made the choice. More silence. He's calm about it. Too calm. That made Mason pause. Elise continued, as if trying to convince herself, he's just trying to be fair. He gave me this place. Set up a transfer. It's clean, but not emotional. No, and he didn't yell. No lawyers. She didn't answer. That silence said everything. By the end of the week, Mason stopped returning her messages. By the end of the month, the condo keys sat unused on her counter, and at Harper's, he used to meet her every Tuesday at 4 p.m. He sat on the same bench, alone, the air around him brittle. He looked at his phone, then turned it off. Sometimes the worst punishment isn't confrontation, it's distance. The last dinner we shared was unspokenly final. She wore a gray sweater I'd never seen before. Said she found it on sale. She poured 1 glass of wine, not 2. I made chicken, roasted carrots, quiet staples from the life we used to have. We ate in silence for 6 minutes. Then she asked it, was there someone else? I looked at her. No. She didn't ask again. She tried one more reach, a small lunge across the void. I just want to understand. I don't, I said. That's the difference. She nodded. Chewed. At the end of the meal, she stood. Said, I'll be out by Sunday. I didn't correct her. She wouldn't be moving out. She already had. She left a note. It was folded, balanced on the banister. The handwriting was hesitant. The lines curved softer than usual, like she'd forgotten her own style. It said, I know you think I was careless. Maybe I was, but I did love you. Once. I hope you believe that. I hope you don't hate me. I placed the note in the fire pit that evening. Didn't burn it, didn't frame it, just placed it there. A relic for some future storm to carry away. Because I didn't need closure. I already had control. 3 weeks after she left, I changed the final lock. Not the front door, not the garage. The safe, the one with the last file I'd never opened, labeled Elise, emergency use only, inside. I had kept the one piece of evidence I never used. A recording, not of cheating, not of lies. Of me, the day before our wedding, sitting in a suit, smiling. Saying, I'm not afraid, because I trust her. I listened to it once, then deleted it. The past wasn't leverage, it was weight, and I was done carrying it. I walked outside, stood on the edge of the driveway, and stared down the street. The sun was setting. My life wasn't ruined, it was reset.